Hi there, motorhome owners. Today we're going to be taking a look and showing you how to replace your wiper blades using Wiper Technologies heavy duty wiper blades. And you can get these in a variety of sizes from 22 inches up to 32 inches in the heavy duty models. And we've got one already on this side versus the older blade that the customer has on here, so we can take a closer look at the two. So right away you can see that the left and the right, first thing you'll notice is that this one here is a little bit more streamlined as far as like air holes and stuff in it. It doesn't feel quite as stiff as this one. This one's got a little bit thicker bracketry to it, so that should help it hold up better in your icier climates where it might get a little bit stuck. It won't bend quite as easily. This one is going to be a little bit more aerodynamic, although you've got a pretty big wind catcher here at the front, so I really don't think that's going to affect performance in any way. Our other blade here, the other thing that I notice real big between the two here is the thickness of the actual blade itself here, the material that swipes. You can see it's really long in comparison, so that should fold over and give us a heavier swipe than what this one is here. It's a much smaller blade. Now I do usually notice that the smaller ones seem to glide maybe a little bit easier, so in a drier condition I bet this one has less chatter, but we're going to test it out in both a dry and spray pattern to see how they compare and wipe to one another. But yeah, the thicker blade should hopefully hold up better against like bugs and stuff, because this windshield here, as big as it is, it's definitely going to be a big bug catcher, and the thicker blade should have a better swipe against the two. So now that we've taken a look at just kind of the smaller features there, otherwise they're fairly similar. They've got multiple points of contact to help it form to your windshield. This is a fairly straight windshield, but it will also work with curved as well as the flatter windshields like this. And that's what the multiple points do, is help to ensure you get contact across the entirety of the blade. And that's pretty similar with this one. That's kind of the standard style of wiper blade there. So let's go ahead and turn them on and we'll see how they compare. First, we'll go ahead and do a dry swipe just to see what the chatter's like if you're just in like a misty environment where you're just trying to get a little bit off but it's not that wet. And then we'll turn on the sprayers and see how streak-free it's going to be. So now we're going to do our dry swipe. And I did hear a little chatter there, but I think the chatter was coming from our left blade. One more time. Yep, definitely our left blade there. You can see the chatter that it's got, versus our other one is nice and smooth. So that means in those just kind of misty conditions, the one on the right's gonna just be a more quieter and probably better performance since it's not chattering along the windshield. Now let's go ahead and add some moisture to it to see how they spray and swipe. And we can see that they're both working pretty well. It looks like the one on the left has a little bit more streakage than what we've got on the right. But the one on the right did a pretty good job there. Go ahead and do one more time. Yeah, it looks like it's working very well as far as streaks. I can't see any streaks on this side, and we're getting plenty of coverage across our windshield to clear it up for us. So we can see compared to the other one, this one does perform just a little bit better. You kind of expect that with a heavier duty blade. Probably gets a little bit better contact against the window because it's a little bit thicker, so it's going to have slightly more pressure. The longer blade seemed to fold over a little bit better, so it didn't get the chatter that this one had over here. So let's go ahead and show you how to replace them now. To replace it, we're going to pull this back out of the way. Now after you pull your blade off of here, you do want to be careful because the pressure of the spring here, without a blade on it, you just have a metal beam there, and if this were to sling back, you can't actually crack your windshield if you don't have a blade on it. So just pay attention to what you're doing there. Try not to bump it and knock it up once you've got your blade off of there. Now there are a lot of different attachments for the various styles out there. You do get some adapters included with your kit, and you also get nut and bolt hardware here, because that's how a lot of these RVs are. They just kind of bolt in place. Now unfortunately with this particular unit, none of the adapters that come in it are going to work with this, including the nut and bolt. This one is just bolted on, but the bolt is a different style. This is just a regular bolt here, and the one that's on here is a shoulder bolt, which is really the more recommended way because you're going to get a better performance out of your blade than with a non-shouldered bolt. So we're going to get this off of here, and we are just going to reuse the bolt that's there to install it. To remove the bolt, it is going to vary depending on the manufacturer that's built it, but this particular one we're going to use a 1/4 inch socket and a Phillips screwdriver to remove it. So I'm just removing the nut off of the end. Be careful not to lose your components. So then I'm going to leave the bolt in there just for a second. That way we can grab our new blade and be prepared to swap them out quickly, so we minimize the chance of the blade, our arm here, swinging back and hitting the windshield. So here we've got our new blade here. This is where you would potentially attach your attachments onto the blade or onto your arm, depending on which attachment you're using. You'll notice that it has two sets of holes in it, and those holes are different diameters, so you want to make sure you match it up to the appropriate diameter for your fastener. For this one, our shoulder bolt's going to fit perfectly inside of the smaller hole, so that's the one we're going to utilize. So we're going to go ahead and push the bolt out of there. We'll pull our blade off of there, keeping my arm wrapped around it so it cannot go back towards the windshield. And then I'm going to put the small hole at the lower position. That'll extend the blade a little bit higher up, kind of offset it just a little bit towards that direction so we get more coverage across the top of our windshield. And we're just going to line that up through there, push all the way through, and then we're going to install our nut on the other side. Now we'll just reinstall the nut on the other side, and then we'll tighten it down. And we don't want to over tighten it. We're just going to tighten it to a point where it's snug, because it is a shoulder, so you're only going to be able to tighten it so far. And we want it to be able to be somewhat free in this direction, but we don't want play in the other direction. So that feels good there. We'll take the protector off of the blade, and then we can gently put it back against the windshield. And you would just repeat this at this point with your other blade. So now that we've got them both installed, we're just going to double check our operation and make sure both blades are swiped appropriately. So again, we'll start with a dry swipe just to see if it's going to chatter in those just slightly misty conditions. Nice and smooth on each one there. So now we're going to go ahead and do a spray and see how the streaks are. Make sure it's streak free. And we do get a little bit of chatter on the left one. And that may be the surface of the windshield. Looks like it got a little bit of dirt there. Let's try spraying it again, seeing if the chatter's still there. Yeah, it seems under high moisture on this side. We do get a little bit of chatter, just like our old blade. But it does seem to be fairly streak free. So if you are looking for replacement wiper blades, these are going to be a strong, heavy duty blade. The performance seems okay on our swipe there, a little bit of chatter, so it wouldn't be my top pick. Me personally, again, I prefer a beam style blade. They just seem to conform to the window better and typically have less chatter overall. And I dislike chatter going down the road, nothing like ruining your favorite song with a noise. And these replacement blades are sold as a quantity of one, so if you're wanting to do a full replacement, you want to make sure you pick up two, so you have one for each side.